Hi, how are you? Happy Lionsgate. Today is the 8th of the 8th, and this is an annual opportunity for you to basically take advantage of some very powerful manifestation energy which is available to you. But before I drop into a full description of the Lionsgate Portal, which is what I would like to do today, I just want to touch on something that has been occurring and I've wanted to talk about in a podcast. And basically that is the importance of working with your rhythm, with your natural cycle. And as you might have noticed, if you're a regular follower of my podcast, they can be a bit intermittent. And I know that this goes very much in contrast to the general rhetoric around running your own business or marketing any sort of product or building a brand or any of those kind of much more commercially driven aspects, which are very committed to consistency and a schedule and very driven by rigorous energy, which doesn't work for me. And I essentially, I spent 15 years in the corporate world and was saturated in that and believed fully in it, and I worked in marketing at the time, and so was an advocate for that kind of behavior. And it was only when I started working for myself that I realized that the amount of tension and stress that would create in my body, where I was like, I have to post today, or I have to write an email today, or rada. And I know that there are people in the world that do this and it comes very naturally to them, and that is wonderful. And I also believe I know why. And that is because, we are, well, essentially we're all different, we're all unique. But what I've recently, or in the last 8 months, come to discover is an aspect of human design which talks to manifestation. And I actually discovered that I've only just done research into it. I'm by no means a teacher of human design, but I have realized that different people manifest differently according to when they're born. And I know that this isn't supposed to be taken as complete truth, that there are variants in this, but generally speaking, from what I've discovered, it does actually speak very truly to me and my personal approach and how I tend to show up with my work. And I'm going to actually drop into all of that in a specific manifestation podcast that I'm planning to do next. But even outside of manifesting, the way that we show up with work, the way that we show up on a day-to-day basis, how we interact with the world, to me, very much depends on our rhythm, our natural rhythm. In the same way that we see in nature, there's 4 seasons, and every single day there's a night and a daytime, and we are surrounded with cycles. And it's really important to honor your cycle. And when you're going through a period of time where you just want to turn inward, you want to focus on yourself, your own narrative, your own experience, and then the times where you feel like you want to go outward and share that, and there are times when you're in that reflective mode where you're actually just absorbing information. I know that I go through these periods where I just want to learn. I'm obsessed with finding out more about how to master myself. That is my key driver. You guys get the benefit of my passion, which is me discovering more about me, and me talking about what I've learned is a joy as well. So, that to me is what we're all here to do, is to step into what we really, really love, what really gets us going, and then just sharing that, and through sharing it, enriching the lives of those around us who, we create exchanges of value with, and thereby create a living, if you like. But it's through this collective recognition of what we each are passionate about that we all live a much happier life and feel much more fulfilled in who we are and what we're doing. But in doing that, in in being in this process of continually learning, I go through periods where I want to turn within, I want to absorb new information. I'm going through my own initiation experiences, my own challenges, my own personal activations and expansions. And I love you all, but I want to do that with me and myself. And I'll come back and share it with you when I'm good and ready. And, you know, I strongly recommend that approach to life for all of us, because, you know, I think there's such a big obsession with this kind of robotic approach to life, which is you got to just keep showing up no matter what. And I see so many clients burn out because of this misguided belief that we're robots. And I think it's really important to, you know, take the time to do what feels right for you, but do that in a way that is very conscious. So recognizing when also you can slip into hiding or withdrawing, and what that might be about, and moving through it, you know. And so it is this delicate balance of really working with your integrity and your personal truth. And so I wanted to bring that up because, well, as you'll observe with the way that I show up with this podcast, it's according to my cycle, like where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and I hope that reinforces your prioritization of your own cycle and the way that you show up in the world. So anyhow, now I've shared that, I would now love to share more about this Lionsgate portal that we're actually in today, and that actually opened up, I've forgotten how many days ago it must be, I think it's a 2-week period, and today's basically the last day, but most people tend to talk about the Lionsgate portal just for today, but it's actually been kind of over this last, I think it's 2 weeks, but I'm not an astrologer, so you need to check that. But essentially it's this kind of build up of energy over this period, and today is like the grand finale. And I sat down to write this email about it actually to my subscribers. And if you aren't subscribed to me and you would like to hear from me more regularly, do go to my website www.kwilson.love and subscribe, because I do tend to write more emails than I do podcasts. And yeah, I jumped on there to write this email about Lionsgate, and all these ideas and things came through, and I was like, I've just got to do a podcast, so that's what I'm doing. So without further ado, the Lionsgate portal is essentially when the star Sirius is closest to the Earth, and as it moves closer to the Earth, it comes into alignment with the Sun, who at this period happens to be in the house of Leo, which is the house of the lion. So it was believed by the ancient Egyptians to be a really powerful time of renewal. It was celebrated as a time for potent, energetic manifestation. It gave us the opportunity to harness the energy that was coming from this star that would give us much more clarity on who we are. Because when the light shines that brightly, we are able to not only feel empowered, but to witness the cracks that we might have within ourselves, our dark side, effectively. And it's really important to see where your cracks are so that you're able to affect healing, affect change, affect growth. And at the moment, we're witnessing a lot of cracks, if you like, in our global community, and what's occurring there on many, many levels. And equally, a lot of us are going through this Lionsgate portal and not having the easiest time. And that is largely to do with the fact that not all of us are living a life that is in alignment to our soul journey, our heart's truth. And what happens is that the challenges that we face in life are there often to give us the opportunity to recalibrate ourselves, to realign ourselves with actually what's really important to us. And so I know that I have personally been witnessing a lot of people who have suddenly backflipped on an idea, or, confess that they actually don't feel the way that they've been claiming to feel about something or other. And this is very classical of a Lionsgate experience, because what everyone's doing is effectively just getting greater clarity on what's really important to them. And so if this sounds like you, then maybe this is something for you to consider. And these, even though these periods are really uncomfortable for obvious reasons, they're super helpful, actually. And the more that we can move through these challenging periods with the acknowledgement and recognition that what's happening is actually for our greater good, the easier that we can navigate them. And I mean, I'm completely talking from personal experience here, because trust me, I've walked plenty of rough times, and you don't do this kind of work because you've had it easy. So don't think you're on your own in any way at all. But what I've learned through these powerful, I call them initiation experiences, because they initiate me into new and more powerful understandings and aspects of who I'm becoming. And what that brings about is this greater sense of knowing who I am, and also that when I'm moving through these challenging periods, I can reassure myself that better things are coming, that this time is going to pass, and I am going to be better for it, even though it might not seem so at the time. It also enables me to let go of whatever particular situation is causing me strife, in the recognition that I'm obviously being invited to let go of it. It's obviously not in alignment for me, even though I was so sure it was. Clearly the universe knows better, and I'm being asked to trust them. And Lionsgate in and of itself is a powerful experience, but put into the context of what we're already traveling through, which is this massive shift, collective shift over this 5 to some are now saying 10-year period of moving into this new age of Aquarius. This, it kind of doubles down on these annual events, which are already potent, and now making them that much more activating, if you like. And so if you have been going through a hard time, I feel for you, I really do. But I also, I really want to reassure you and cheer you on that you're being looked after, your best interests are being cared for, and that whatever the experience that is occurring is coming to, whatever the experience that is happening to you, it means that the circumstances that you have been in were not actually in alignment with your highest good. And that whatever earthquake might be taking place in your life is actually going to, yes, completely tear up the roots, maybe start a wildfire, but in the process it will leave the ashes and create the fertile soil for the next phase of your life, which will be, ironically, in a much better heart space for you. It'll be a much better alignment for your soul's journey. I keep talking about this soul's journey, and to give you more clarity, from a spiritual perspective, we come here as a soul. We come into this 3D experience, seeking this soul's journey, which is largely, funnily enough, about experiencing the world in a 3D environment, using our 5 senses and taking this magnanimous spirit that we truly are and squeezing it into this little body and seeing what it feels like to touch and smell and speak and experience in this way, and primarily to actually have fun and enjoy being a human and being alive. When you see babies come into the world, they don't come in stressed, generally speaking. They come in open to experience, and it's we're taught all our stress, we're taught all our fear by those that have come before us and been misguidedly taught by others. So when I talk about your soul journey, what I'm referring to is that when you came into this world, you had an intention to follow your heart and to do what felt good to you. But because we're taught to earn love, because we're taught that we're fundamentally not worthy and we have to strive for validation, which is a form of love, because we're taught that we have to fight for love, we forget very quickly that it's our birthright. And so we stop doing what feels good to us. We stop listening to our heart, and instead we listen to our head, because our head is always coming up with strategies in which we can earn love. And by taking us away from our heart, it actually takes us away from that soul journey which seeks out joy, which seeks out heart-centered living, which, you know, for me has led me to this work and, you know, asking myself, well, what brings me joy? Because that, I know when I ask myself that question, that I return to my heart space. You know, what brings me money? What brings me fame? What brings me any of those things? Those are head questions. That's an ego thing. But when I return to what lights me up, what makes my heart sing, then I'm firmly back on my soul's journey, which is an expansion, an evolution, a discovery of what makes my heart sing. And what we're going through as a collective in this 5 to 10 year period is a reawakening, a remembering of our heart's desires. And in the process, we are all experiencing earthquakes in our lives as we are being guided back into that heart-centered living space and away from these cryptic stories that our egos have been manufacturing in order to earn love. We've been remembering that love is available to us right here in our heart space. And so that's what I mean by, you know, when this beautiful star Sirius is currently here right now, shining all this light energy onto us and perhaps revealing these cracks in our existence, what it's doing is showing us how far out of alignment we are. And the bigger the gap, the bigger the crack. So it really is an opportunity for us to return to our joy. And this might sound crazy to those of you going through really potentially heartbreaking experiences, but if we're in the wrong relationship, if we're in the wrong job, if we're, you know, about to sign a contract for the wrong house, you know, or jump on a plane to go to the wrong place, something might be happening that's stopping you from doing those things. And we may have convinced ourselves that it was absolutely the only thing for us to do and it was the best thing for us to do, and have become very attached to that outcome. And that's potentially not at all what is right for you in the long run. So the universe, bless it, is always actually taking care of our best interests, even though it really may not feel like it sometimes. And if you are riding that earthquake, I wish you all the best, and I see you and I honor you, and I've done it myself, and I just invite you to let go. Let go and surrender. And even if letting go makes no sense whatsoever, the sooner you let go, the sooner the universe will catch you, and the sooner you'll get back to a heart-centered space, and you'll realize, oh man, the universe was right again. Damn it. So yes, that is really, you know, a big part of what's going on right now with the portal. And the other aspect of the Lionsgate Portal is the opportunity we have because it is because the vibration of it is in alignment with the astrological house of Leo. It also invites us to look at power, because the lion, Leo, is, you know, very powerful, energetic vibration, or sign rather, and so, you know, that too dovetails into this collective shift we're going through, because when we re-examine where we're putting our power in our life, where we're showing up powerfully, where we're not, we might show up really powerfully at home, but act like a mouse at work, or vice versa. Or we might be really powerful at work and really afraid to be intimate in our relationships, which is another word for honest and emotionally vulnerable. So it's a really great opportunity for us to also re-examine how we are exerting our power, and in what ways we feel comfortable doing that, and in what ways we don't feel comfortable doing that, and how we can look to harmonize those things and become comfortable in sitting in our own power, because that primarily can be really confronting for a lot of us when we've been so trained to step out of our power in order to please those around us. Anytime that we are seeking validation from others, we have stepped out of our power. So just think how often you people please. And that doesn't mean that you're some sort of sycophantic person. It means that you might be having a conversation with someone and they say something that you fundamentally disagree with, and you think something about them that might be judgmental, but the way you act is very different. Right there, that is you stepping out of your power, because you're not in alignment. Your inner and outer experience are not transparent. And that's really what this whole self-growth is really all about. It's actually finding your integrity. And, they talk about being a warrior of light. And they tend to talk about being a warrior of light in the context of being around other people who are dark. To me, being a warrior of light is actually finding the courage to speak my truth. Right there, I need to find my warrioress to actually show up so that my internal narrative and my external narrative and presence is all harmonized. And that's a journey I'm still navigating. And it's really, it's really a matter of taking action and observing where you feel you could be in more harmony or in more integrity, and not being hard on yourself, but just saying, right, next time I'm just going to be a little bit more aligned, because we can't blame ourselves for the times that we get it wrong, because then we're just creating more internal conflict. The opportunity for us is to observe where we feel we could do it differently and in more heart-led alignment, and congratulate ourselves for where we've got to, and give ourselves encouragement for getting even more in alignment next time. So yeah, it's really important to observe when you're giving your power away, or when you're stepping out of your power, and to start really consolidating who you are in terms of your relationship with your internal and external experience, and therefore within your integrity. Also, as we move into this age of Aquarius, which is much more about the collective, it is really an interesting time to consider where you are using power over others versus power with them. So, I witness this all the time in corporate, and as a manager of people, I did some really fantastic leadership training, and I was very lucky to be given that opportunity. And it really helped me understand that actually a good manager is a good leader, and that a good leader is someone that obviously leads by example, but doesn't do it in a way that is, my way is the only way, all the rest of you get into alignment. No, that's the exact opposite actually. My job as a leader was to step back and support the group, to allow them to be as powerful as they could as individuals and flourish, so that they felt empowered to share their ideas, share their personal beliefs. And so the best possible outcome was possible for the group, for the collective. And that way the work we produced was on fire, because it came from creative input that was allowed for. When you've got one person in the room that's trying to be the shiniest out of everybody, it actually just negates everybody else's power. It creates a bottleneck. And so taking that example and overlaying it to your life in general, it's the same with your family. If one member of the family has to be the best at everything, it's going to really prevent the rest of the family from flourishing. And it's not up to that one person to change necessarily. It's up to everybody to change, for those who have not been shining to take action and start to work on becoming stronger in themselves, and for the person who naturally shines to focus on helping those around them shine. You know, we all have to take responsibility for how we're showing up and not blame the people around us for being too powerful or not being powerful enough. You know, this is all distraction and it actually doesn't help anyone. We have to be the people that we want others to be. You know, we have to lead by example, and we have to own our stuff and take other people's interests, their best interests, and make them our own. And when we do that, we're coming from a place of real heart-led compassion, and it actually feels really good. It feels great to support other people, and then to take such sheer delight and joy in seeing them flourish. That's so much better than seeing yourself flourish in many cases. So it's really important to recognize that power with is actually far more satisfying than power over. And when you are, you know, taking the time today or this evening as we go through this powerful portal to consider, you know, how you interact with power, what your relationship with personal power is, don't just spend time on you. You know, we're so easily caught up in our own story, and actually the time is calling for us to understand what's needed in the collective. You know, what energy is being called for in your community, perhaps, you know, being open to being part of something bigger than yourself, and finding the courage perhaps to do that, and letting go of the narratives that center around your own success and your own fame, if you like, or your own validation. So yeah, take some time to really think a little more laterally and how you could support others to shine, and try it and see how it feels. You know, with all these things, you gotta experiment and see what works for you, what doesn't. And I'm always sharing, hopefully, plenty of ideas, because I know from my own experience that the more ideas I come across, the more I can play with and the more I can discard. Oh, that was good to try, not my bag. And so I'll try something else now. And that's great. You know, we're all different. We're all drawn to different things. My husband's drawn to completely different things I'm drawn to. And that's cool. That's what diversity is all about. And from diversity comes creativity. So yes, there's one story I'd love to share. A friend of mine recently told me that she had wanted to create a bookstore with her lover in this beautiful beachside place that she would go and visit with them. And they had these big dreams to create this bookstore that had a certain sort of theme to it and the kind of books they wanted to sell, and they were super excited about the idea. Unfortunately, their relationship didn't work out. But she happened to go back to that place and revisit it, and she messaged me and she said, "Kay, I'm in the bookstore that I wanted to create. I can't believe it. It's got everything I had imagined. Everything that I had visioned for it is right here. But it wasn't me that did it. Someone else has done it." And it was such a fantastic story for her to have shared with me, because it really hit me in that moment that, you know, as a collective, we're constantly dreaming things in. You know, we are visualizing and calling in experiences subconsciously that we want to happen. And as local communities, there can be, you know, groups of us spread throughout a community that may not know each other necessarily, but that all have this desire, as they did in this seaside town, for this bookstore. And so there's this vibrational energy that's created around that concept. And it's like, it's as if that there are certain individuals within that community that, for whatever reason, were able to just pick up on that community dreaming, that vibration, align themselves with it and bring it into existence. And at one point, my friend was one of those people, but she then fell out of that vibration, not for good or bad reasons. She just came out of that alignment. It wasn't her journey at that moment. And other people stepped in and took that journey to fruition. So it's just really, I thought, a beautiful example of, you know, stepping out of your own story and recognizing that if you feel called to do something, not to get too het up about it, not to get too attached to the outcome, but to recognize, oh, I must be in alignment with something bigger that's calling me into this experience. And this feels right to me right now. So I am going to align with it. I am going to put my focus and energy towards it. And I am going to go down this pathway for as long as it takes me. And maybe you will be that person that manifests whatever that is. Maybe you won't for various reasons. But it's just really interesting to feel into, well, what am I feeling? You know, in terms of what would serve the community, what would serve my friendship group, what would serve my family, what would serve my work environment, that is outside of myself, that might just be beneficial. And when you start doing that, that's when you start to fall into that space of listening to the collective dreaming that's happening, and subconsciously aligning yourself with, these beautiful callings to create situations and experiences for people outside of yourself. So I'm just looking at my notes to see if there's anything else I want to share. Collective. So the one final thing I will say is that is everything on the Lionsgate Portal. So I hope that gives you a lot of food for thought. If you want to do something this evening with your friends or family, and maybe, have a little ceremony, maybe ask everyone in your circle to write, something they'd like to call in for themselves, something they'd like to call in for the group, or just spend a bit of time yourself doing some journaling around maybe some of the cracks you've been witnessing, and what they've been teaching you about yourself, or maybe looking for the empowered perspective in what's happening with you at the moment. What's been the value of this experience? Yes, it might have been heartbreaking, it might have been earth-shattering, like your whole life might have transformed in the last couple of weeks. Whatever it might look like, we always have two choices. We can look at something from a place of empowerment, which is when we seek value in something, or we can look at it from a place of victimhood, when we just see the pain that it offers us and get really caught up in that. Now, there's no right and wrong, in spite of how that might sound. There really isn't. It's just about having the knowledge that there are options and choices, and giving yourself the choice to see, well, okay, normally I might be caught up in a victim story. I want to try an empowerment one this time. I'm going to look for the value in this experience, whatever that might be. So yes, make some time to experience this opportunity. There'll be plenty more this year. I think there's a lot of astrological events happening this year, which are particularly powerful. I'm not an astrologer, as I say, but I will share with you whatever I glean. And I have some beautiful friends who are incredible with astrology. So yes, in fact, maybe I will get one of them on here. Do let me know. Email me at hello@kwilson.love if you would like me to interview an astrologer as to what is happening this year. I think I might just do it anyway, but if you have any particular questions you've got for them, then please email me. I would love to have your questions with me. And finally, I am starting a series of 8 circles. They're online, and they're every Monday night, Sydney, Australia time. And it's an hour in which I will introduce you to a spiritual / practical concept in which you can hopefully learn more about yourself. I'll also give you tools and techniques to help you navigate that concept. It could be things like dealing with your inner critic, or increasing your relationship to your spiritual self. It's going to be a vast array of topics that we're going to go through over the 8 weeks. But essentially the theme is really building that integrity within yourself and harmonizing that internal and external you. So if that sounds like something that you really need in your life, then please do join me. If you can't make the live session, do not fear, I will be recording them and I will send them out to you. if for no other reason, it would be so beautiful to connect with you wherever you are in the world. I know that people all around the globe listen to these podcasts, so it would be beautiful to have you there and share this knowledge with you. I'm going to be also doing guided energy healing practices, as well as teaching new meditation techniques every single week, because meditation is so powerful in terms of raising your vibration and giving you the tools to really step into self-mastery. So if those things sound useful to you, please go to my website, www.kwilson.love/workshops with an S on the end, and check out the 8-week series that I'm starting on the 15th of August. I look forward to seeing you there. As ever, if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, please do email me. It would be great to hear from you. Lots of love. Have a fantastic Lionsgate Portal, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.